Hi, I'm Madison Mary and welcome back to my channel. Today I have my December TBR. So we are in December. It is the final month of 2021. Almost to 2020 just then, huh? That would have been interesting. And so I have just some kind of last minute books I need to get to. Thankfully, I don't really have any arcs to get to in December. I don't really have any new books that are coming out. I have one that I'm getting to this weekend, and then I have one book that is coming out in the very beginning of January that will be on this TBR. So I'm gonna get to the one arc that I do need to read in the month of January, and that is Daughter of the Moon Goddess by ɪṛsᴛᴏ. I am so stoked for this. This is like one of my most anticipated books coming out of next year, and it comes out in January. But this is a debut fantasy inspired by the legend of the Chinese moon goddess, and it is about a young woman's quest to free her mother, and it pits her against the most powerful immortal in the realm and sets her on a dangerous path where choices come with deadly consequences, and she risks losing more than her heart. Now, I'm always a sucker for Asian inspired fantasies, especially when they kind of delve into the mythology aspect of it. The moon goddess, like the moon festival that happens every single year in Chinese culture, is something that I experienced when I lived back in Australia with some of my friends, and so I do know a little bit about this, and I'm so excited to kind of see how ɪṛsᴛᴏ kind of turns it into a fantasy novel. So she's a chunky book, but I'm very, very excited about it. Oh god, it's almost like 500 pages. That's pretty impressive. So very excited to see how this goes, and yeah, that's number one book on my TBR, the only arc I need to get to, which is kind of nice. There are quite a few readathons going on in the month of December. I wanted to take place in a bunch of them, but I don't really know if I'm gonna have the time because the readathons are all happening during a week where I have a very huge sales conference at work. So I'm gonna be super busy. So I just don't think it's gonna be very feasible to join all these different readathons. The one that I will be doing though is the Historical Romance Readathon, which is hosted by Jess, Lacey, and Lisa. You guys know I love them all. I'll link them all down below in the Historical Romance Readathon, but they have a bingo board for this edition, and so I'm basically just gonna be trying to do a single bingo. I'm not gonna be like, hey, I'm gonna pick a different book for every single prompt. I'm gonna see how many I can read in a week. No, I don't think that's gonna be realistic for me. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna look at the bingo board. I picked one of the bingos, and I picked two books that will fit all four of those prompts, okay? That's what I'm gonna do, and that's what I'm doing. So I am choosing to fulfill the bottom of the bingo board, and that is to read a book with a marriage of convenience, a book that has been recommended to you, a book with a lady as the heroine, and a book that you already own. That's what they are. So the very first one I'm going to be doing is Her Wicked Marquess, which is by Stacey Reid. This is the second book from My Darling Duke, which I just read and freaking loved. Now this is recommended to me from the wonderful, have my little card here, it was gifted to me. It was gifted to me from Amanda over the Naughty Librarian, who was just such an amazing person, love her to death. She loved this, she's like, it has a Count of Monte Cristo vibe to it, and so this was recommended to me, and it's a book that I already own. I also already own it on Kindle as well. I like always have multiple editions of historical romances, so that fulfills those two prompts. And then for Lady Heroine and Marriage of Convenience, I'm going to be reading How to Survive a Scandal by Samara Parrish. This is an e-arc I received a while ago and never got to, and I was like, well, here's a perfect excuse to read it. And it follows a lady who ends up getting into a scandal and has to end up marrying this guy out of a marriage of convenience that she doesn't want to be with. And she, you know, has been trained since birth to be a lady of a house, to be like part of a big estate. And she ends up going to have to live with this guy in the countryside, kind of like away from everyone in a kind of a smaller house. And she's like, what am I doing with my life? This is not what I wanted with it. And so it's a very reluctant marriage. I'm so excited to get to it. I haven't seen too many people talk about it either, so I'm hoping that it is pretty good. And yeah, those are the two books I'm reading for the Historical Romance Readathon. Obviously, there are like a bunch of historical romances I do want to get to. I personally, it's so funny, I don't necessarily love Christmas books, but I love Christmas historical romances, so I know I'm going to be picking some up during the end of the month. I don't know which ones I'm going to be picking up yet because I haven't really found any new ones yet for this year that I'm thinking of grabbing, but those are definitely something. So now I also plan to read some Christmas rom-coms apart from, you know, just the Christmas historicals. I'm going to be reading Window Shopping by Tessa Bailey. I don't know anything about this and I don't want to know anything about it going into it. I know people have been reading it. I know they've been raving about it. I know that it is sinfully smutty, and I know there are penguins in it, but that's it. And I don't want anyone else to tell me anything else. So I'm reading that. And then I'm also going to be reading, hang on, I screenshotted a book just the other day that I was like, I'm reading this. It's called Jingle Wars, It's book 1 in the Holy Ridge series by R. Holmes and Veronica Eden. So this follows 2 inn owners in one town. One of them is a guy who has lived his entire life. The other one is a girl who's come from California to like start up this inn, and the two of them are now rivals and like are competing against each other during the holiday season. And I love that. I love the idea that it's like the small town romance. You have these 2 people competing, you have inns. I'm a huge fan of like hospitality stuff. I don't know, I almost went into like hotel hospitality, like that kind of stuff. So I always love reading about it. So excited for this. I don't see anyone talking about it, but it randomly, I forget if the author randomly popped up or something did. And I was just like, okay, I'm gonna check this one out because I think this could be really fun. So I'm gonna be reading this. It's one of my big Christmas books. And then I'll probably pick up a couple others, but I tend to, I tend to really randomly find Christmassy books. Like I feel like as the time just gets closer, they just start popping up more and more wherever I'm looking. I'm going to finish the Brutal Birthright series. So I have Broken Vow and Heavy Crown left to read from Sophie Lark in the Brutal Birthright series. I have read the other 5 already. Got these last 2 to go, and I'm gonna finish them. I'm gonna do this. This is a Mafia romance series set in Chicago. It follows the Italian Mafia, the Irish mob, the Polish Bratva, like it follows everyone is in this. So really love them, super excited. This one follows the sister in the Irish mob who is a lawyer, and she ends up needing to have a bodyguard romance. And this one follows Sebastian, who is the baby boy of the Italian Mafia, who has never really wanted anything to do with the Mafia family until he gets injured in book 1 and kind of is like, what is my prospects in life anymore? Very excited to get to these, so need to get to them. I am then going to be picking up one of the following. I have not decided which one yet, but I have These Violent Delights by Chloe Gong and Kingdom of the Wicked by Kerri Maniscalco. I do want to get in another YA fantasy before the end of the year. I mean, other than my arc, I want to get one more in, so I definitely want to pick between one of these 2. I did try and pick up These Violent Delights the other day, but I just wasn't in the mood for a YA fantasy, which I think has been the main problem at the moment, is I haven't had the desire to pick up any YA fantasies, so I think I need to definitely, whatever I do pick up has to be something that grips me instantly. These are the 2 that I definitely think are like at the forefront. I mean, this was on my 5-star prediction list for this year. Have I read any of my 5-star prediction list? No, I have not. Will I be making another 5-star prediction list next year? Maybe. At this point, I just think I shouldn't make 5-star prediction lists because I don't get to them. I also will admit my reading tastes heavily changed during this year. I would say I started this year off thinking I was going to read a crap ton of YA fantasy. What did I end up reading? A crap ton of romance books. So I didn't get to half of my 5-star prediction list because there were a majority of them were fantasy books that I just didn't get to. So I don't know. We'll see what ends up happening. I feel like I'm always quite ambitious with my 5-star prediction list. So I might try something different next year. Maybe I'll do something shorter. I don't know, we'll see, but I'm hoping I get to one of these 2. I feel like I'm getting a bit ambitious at this point with all the books I'm putting on this TBR, but it's fine. I might be able to get to them. I don't know. I have the week off between Christmas and New Year's to read, so I will be reading a lot during then. I just don't know exactly what I will be reading. I would love to get to Bound by Judy by Cora Riley. I have only read book 1 in this series and want to continue on and keep reading them. I just keep not getting to it because I just end up keeping on reading Sophie Lark. But this is a Mafia romance I definitely want to continue on with. I also want to continue on with Welcome to the Dark Side by Gianna Darling, which is book 2 in her Fallen Men Motorcycle Club romance series. Those 2, those are just series that I want to continue on with before the end of the year. I just think it'd be nice to get them in because I do think that, like, for example, this has a huge potential to be like one of my favorite books of this year as well. So that's a big reason why I want to see how that goes. I keep looking at all my YA fantasies and I'm like, there are so many there that I feel like I could love. I just don't have the mood to pick them up. I just go rogue with my TBR. You never really know if I'm going to hit everything I say anymore. I still like making TBRs because I do tend to stick with them a majority of the time. But you never know if I'm going to kind of go a little bit on the leeway. It kind of just depends on if I just feel like I'm getting slumpy. If I feel like I'm getting slumpy, I tend to switch things around, which is like why, for example, I was like, oh, I need to read These Violent Delights, but I started it, wasn't really in the mood, picked up the next book in Sophie Lark Sinner's Duet and like devoured it like in a night. So it just depends. So yeah, that's going to be it for my end of year TBR. I hope you guys have enjoyed you know, hanging out with me this year, seeing all my reading content. And yeah, that's gonna be it. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys did enjoy this video, please hit the like button down below. If you want to see more of me, please go to my channel. And until next time, thanks a bunch everyone. Bye-bye.